Hello and welcome to my contribution to this year's festive tech calendar. I'm really excited to be a part of this. I believe this is my fifth or sixth year contributing to the festive tech calendar. So thank you to all the organizers. I know this was started by Gregor Sudi and Richard Hooper, but I know there are others that are involved that have assisted in the growth of this particular event. It's a really fun holiday event, and I look forward to it every year. And I'm glad to be a contributor once again. This year, I will be contributing the topic of building a cyber risk management action plan to protect against Santa Claus vulnerabilities. So as we try and take our risk-aware culture to the next level, there's obviously things that we need to understand and take into account as we prepare for the holiday season and we prepare for Santa Claus to make our visit and putting presents under the Christmas tree. So welcome everybody to this presentation. Thank you for watching. Thank you again to the organizers of Festive Tech Calendar. And also I will be sharing a link at the end of the presentation for the charity that Festive Tech Calendar is supporting this year. So hopefully you're in the giving mood and can provide something to assist in the charitable contributions that Festive Tech Calendar puts in place as part of this event every year. So again, you can go to festivetechcalendar.com and you can also follow with the schedule for all of the contributions for the month. You can look at the calendar and see those various contributions, look at the past contributions, look at what's ahead as we move towards the end of 2024 and into 2025. So let's get started here on my presentation. Myself, I am Dwayne Natwick. I am the CEO and owner of Captain Hyperscaler. We are a training provider for various organizations, for Microsoft, Accolade, Asaka, as well as CompTIA, Pearson Views, IT specialists we recently signed on for, as well as EC Council. So we do a lot of AI, cybersecurity, cloud, and risk awareness training for users as well as the technical and executive levels. And one of the things that we're rolling out for the new year is actually rolling out some role-based leveled training, using all of these training partners and building a what we call hero saga that you can use to skill up like a superhero. And hopefully, if you're looking to get into AI, cyber security, risk and compliance, or cloud technologies, we have the training for you. So again, myself, I am a Microsoft security MVP. I'm also an AWS community builder for security and identity, and a Microsoft certified trainer, and a trainer in various other areas as well, like Asaka, CompTIA, Accolade, EC Council, and look forward to providing you with this session here today. You can certainly catch up with me and connect with me on the various profiles, various social media profiles, as well as my company website as well. I am not on Twitter or X as much as I used to, but that Dwayne and Cloud handle is also the start of my handle on Blue Sky, if you want to connect with me there as well. And I share that actually at the end of this presentation. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about three main areas of building a risk management action plan. First phase of doing that is determining the top cyber risks within your organization. We then create our plan, and then we implement and report on those. And what does that really mean? What is our, determining our top risks? We really need to understand what our risk profile is. What's our risk profile here in the holiday seasons, and what's our risks that Santa Claus is bringing to us? What are our gaps that could be exploited by Santa Claus and various levels of attackers? The risk management action plan really goes along with getting our organization, or in terms of the holiday season, maybe our family motivated and risk aware. How do we build that culture, and what is our plan to execute that plan? And then finally, the implementation, the reporting aspect of it all. As we are executing our plan, what are we doing in terms of updated status and action items? How are we reviewing successes, as well as making sure that various actions are taking place as necessary? And what is our celebration that we take place, once we get our family all together and talk about those successes over the year, and what we need to do to prepare for the following year. So those are all things that we're going to cover here briefly today. I do talk more about this in a full-fledged training courses of our cyber resilience practitioner course. Really goes in deep detail around all of this. But the key aspect here is understanding, and the first phase in building a risk management action plan is determining our top cyber risks. What is our risk profile around the various risks? How do we cater that based on the cybersecurity frameworks to build a risk-aware culture within our organization, within our company, or within our family, and where are the gaps that could be exploited? And that's really, really what that comes down to. And there's really an 8-step process to doing this and to building this. And ultimately, our goal is to get to a manageable top 5 security risks that we can look into. And we're going to do that by looking at our scope, getting buy-in, selecting who we're going to interview, create a questionnaire, find the target scores that we're looking to accomplish, to then conduct our interviews, compile those scores, and communicate the top 5 cyber risks. So let's look at that, and let's look at it from a standpoint of our risk awareness. Our first aspect of the 8-step process of our phase 1 of understanding our top cyber risks is to understand our scope. And generally within the risk management action plan, what we're going to use is some sort of framework. And the very strong framework in terms of building cyber resilience is the NIST, or the NIST cybersecurity framework. And the cybersecurity framework 2.0 came out in 2024, and it added this govern function to the already existing identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover functions. And within those functions, there are, I believe it's 28 categories, and then a bunch of subcategories. I believe 108 different subcategories in terms of and outcomes that we can use to build our profile. And understanding our profile as an organization and where we fall in terms of the implementation tier of cyber resilience is a very important aspect. So what is our scope? What is specific, and what are the needs that we need to have in terms of protecting against our vulnerabilities, especially here in the Christmas season, protecting our credit card information, protecting our physical environment, protecting our digital environments, are all things that we need to understand. And if we put together a risk management action plan, we can create and become a more risk-informed, or even a more repeatable tiered family and organization, so that we can then every year go through the same processes and procedures to complete and to be a risk-aware family and organization. So we'll continue that discussion as we go through here. But the key aspect to all of this is getting buy-in. We need to understand the stakeholders, if we're protecting ourselves from a Santa Claus or Christmas shopping perspective. Obviously, the family, our spouses, our partners, as well as our dependents and children are very key stakeholders in understanding what that is, as well as if we're working with other family members to prepare our Christmas celebration, our Christmas dinner, our gift giving, understanding what risks are across that, as well as anybody that might be management or our parents or those that govern over us, and we may have expanded geographic situations where we're trying to get packages here by Christmas Day, understanding that supply chain and what that supply chain is going to play a key role. And getting buy-in from an internal aspect of things means that we need to communicate, and we need to have a level of advocacy from the heads of the household to make sure that we are letting them know what we're doing in terms of evaluating our risk. We want to generate a questionnaire and understand how the response is going to be expected in terms of the scoring. It's going to be very helpful to build a numeric scoring system for that questionnaire and communicate openly how that scoring system is going to work, because that will get more accurate results when we are then evaluating those scores later on in this phase. We also need to know where our targets are. And one of the aspects of the scoring system, and you can see we've got this red, yellow, green aspect of things here, where we are looking at the scoring accordingly. And the green is actually kind of in the middle. It's not 0, it's not 3, it's not 10. It's somewhere between 5 and 8 is our optimal level of awareness and understanding and looking at risk appropriately, because we're not perfect. So being a 10 is going to be very difficult, because it's going to have a lot of resources that may compromise. If we're looking at the security objectives of confidentiality, integrity, and availability, if we put too much in the confidentiality and integrity, we're going to sacrifice availability and maybe overspend that level of protection. So we're going to look at that appropriately, and we're going to build our targets within that 5 to 8 range, and we'll talk more about that here in the next slide. So we need to then develop an approach. What is our risk approach, and what's our target approach within our organization, within our family? How do we want to handle these levels, these approaches? And I'm showing 3 of them here of the 5. The difference between the other 2, the strong castle and the first responder, they build a 7 at the protect or the respond level, kind of similar to the big city approach, is looking at a high level of respond and recover. We also look then at both ends of the spectrum of all 5s and all 8s, with the 5s being the minimum score approach and the 8s being the world-class approach. When we're determining our target scores, we want to look at this appropriately based on what best fits, again, our particular targets, how we want to look at risks in these various functional areas, and how we're going to protect or respond to particular incidents within our family, our organization. And it does not have to be prescriptive to one of these particular approaches. We could have a customized approach of what our target scores are going to be for the various functional levels, but we also these are really guidance to give an idea if we want to use a particular particular framework, a particular target score around one of these prescriptive approaches. We can certainly do that, but we may find that that we want something in terms of a strong castle and a big city approach. We may want to have protect be at a 7 as well, and have something of a hybrid approach to our scoring system of our top 5 risks. And that's really what we're looking at, is those risks and how we're scoring our risks, so that then we can properly approach them. And so once we do then our interviews and we get that scoring and we compile our averages, we can then look at the actual scores versus the target scores and determine the gaps. And from those gaps, we now look at the top 5 risks. Now, just looking at these risks and looking at, say, our authentication and authorization, which is the protect.aa, or looking at our protect and our training, those are all different things that we want to look at and to determine what our actual is versus our target, then our gap. But then we want to look at it from a standpoint of not just technology. We need to understand the budget within our organization, the resources, and the time that might be involved. Example, we may feel that to make sure that there are no Santa break-ins on Christmas, that we put cameras outside with motion detection. But maybe that's not within our budget for this year. Or maybe putting the cameras in place we need to look at what that budget might be or what the resources might be to put those in place. And we maybe put battery powered in place today because we don't have power and electricity in those locations, and then build into our plan for next year a different approach to handling that risk. Those are all things that we need to consider. We need to understand. We need to understand it's not just looking this from a technology perspective. It's repeatability. It's the awareness that the overall organization has as well when we compile these scores, and then we create the action plan and the top 5 risks. And when we look at these risks and we look at the categorization down at the bottom screen here, we have then determined, based on large gaps, that we are going to handle these top 5 risks as our priority going into the year, as we prepare for this time of year, to make sure that we have no vulnerabilities in place. Maybe not no vulnerabilities, but we've handled our top 5 vulnerabilities. And now we need to get the team motivated, whether that's our family, to make sure that they are more risk aware, as well as the plan to execute. And how do we do that? We want to the keys to a successful risk management access plan have to do with the prioritization that we put in place, what the roles and responsibilities are of our internal resources, our external resources, our supply chain, our customers and the people that we are servicing as part of the Christmas season, all become very important. We want to make it scalable. We want to make it repeatable. We want to keep it as simple as possible. That's one of the reasons why we pick our top 5 risks rather than all of the risks at one time, so that we are keeping it simple and we have a level of control in place, and understand that we might need to use external resources rather than directly involving our active staff. Maybe there's a risk to putting together our Christmas dinner and putting it together and having it ready for everybody on time. So we might outsource certain aspects of the ham or the turkey, as I do with my family. We've hosted the last few holidays, and we utilize and kind of cater some of the key sides and the key and the ham and the turkey from other sources, and then some of the staples of our family are then made by my wife and daughter. So those are all things that we do and things that we consider, and we look at that action plan. We're going to develop that action plan by closing those identified gaps, conducting a business value analysis, creating some sort of dashboard and roadmap, and then do internal and external marketing. So, and this isn't like we're doing ads and social media posts and things like that. We are talking with and communicating with our internal stakeholders and our external stakeholders, our partners, those partners that are on non-disclosure agreements. We are sharing how we are handling these top 5 risks and what our approach is for everyone. And developing that action plan and those 5 steps here is just a roadmap to success. If we understand those 5 risks and how we are going to approach and close those gaps, what the value is and the total cost of ownership going forward is going to be, then we can then create that dashboard and report and provide the marketing at those levels to everyone. The internal versus outsourced aspect of things. When we are thinking about those key things that we're going to outsource, core business needs to stay inside the company. As I said, we could outsource ham and turkey, but if there are specific things, my family and the stakeholders within my family or my kids love my wife's macaroni and cheese. And so she is always going to be the one that's going to make the macaroni and cheese. We are not going to outsource the macaroni and cheese. She has outsourced some of the desserts to my daughter as my daughter has become an adult. But they are still some staple desserts that we use. Cranberry sauce, again, is a staple to our family. We don't use external cranberry sauce. She creates a cranberry applesauce that my son and my son generally eats most of. And what are those roles, responsibilities, again, of the internal and the outsource? What are those core tasks? What is the strategy? We need to keep the outsourcing strategic. Again, what are kind of those standard items you're going to have within the holiday season with your holiday dinner? Within the decorations, I am the key strategic outsourcing solution or internal resource to put the Christmas lights outside, as well as put the Christmas tree up. I have outsourced the decorating of the tree to my children over the years, but as the children are getting older and less interested, it looks like that's going to be something that comes back into my aspect of the roles and responsibilities of Christmas. Commodity outsourcing, again, I've given that example in terms of the standard based ham and turkey and stuffing and gravy and mashed potatoes that are pretty standard based. You can't really do those in various different ways, or you can, but we don't need to do that. Those are things we think about. And the cost of implementation. And again, it's not all the technology. I'll continue to use the dinner perspective of what you can outsource and what you can save time in preparation and in raw materials versus getting it already fully assembled and ready are very key aspects to when you might want to use internal versus external resources. Understanding the total cost of ownership as well. So putting a control in place to protect a particular solution. Looking at, again, protecting our putting certain parameters, certain fraud parameters on our credit cards or on the sites that we're purchasing from, or putting cameras and motion detectors in our home to protect against fraudulent Santa Clauses and things of that nature, and potential predators for packages that are being delivered to my home and trying to scam us out of our deliveries. Those are some things that we need to understand how we are going to handle those. And generally, when we're looking at that repeatability and looking at that total cost of ownership, we'll look at it in terms of a 3-year total cost of ownership, which includes the implementation costs, what is the actual cost of acquiring that asset, as well as the cost to implement from an hourly perspective, and that could be internal resource hours versus external resource hours, and then the annual operating cost. What's the renewal cost? What's the maintenance fees? When you Ring cameras, for example, have a implementation cost, a cost of that asset to purchase those cameras. There's an implementation cost of the time that it takes to put them in place. Depending on what type of camera it is, it could take moments, take less than half an hour. It could take hours if you're hardwiring it into your systems. And then the annual operating cost. What is the annual subscription? And what is the cost that you have to continue to operate, to continue to tweak those the configuration based on updates and things of that nature? That is things that you're going to take into account for every one of the controls that you're putting in place. And then you're going to balance that against budgets, you're going to balance that against resources that are available, and you're going to present that to your organization, to your family, in terms of putting this control in place is going to cost this, and it's going to save us this. And those are things that we're going to then look at this business value analysis and how we build that level of trust among the organization around what that risk is in various areas in terms of reliability of operation, financial returns, technical risk mitigation, and legal risk mitigation, due diligence, understanding that we are potentially need to be compliant and need to make sure that there's not going to be a lawsuit. There's a risk in where I live in Michigan of ice being on our drive and on our walkway to our front door. We need to make sure that we're mitigating the risk of legal ramifications of somebody slipping. We don't want to be sued by Santa Claus or any of the delivery elves that come to our home with the packages. And those are all things that we need to understand. And that builds an overall level of trust within our organization, within the stakeholders within our organization, that then can build upon our risk-aware culture as well. The internal and external marketing piece is an interesting one, because really what we need to make sure that we're doing is we're communicating with our internal as well as our external stakeholders and our supply chain and our partners, and to gain buy-in to the risk-aware culture, to what we want to do in terms of addressing these five top 5 cybersecurity risks, where the gaps are, and what we are looking to accomplish. So providing a detailed scorecard is an important thing. Understand that there is a level of risk to even sharing this to certain people. So having non-disclosure agreements in place and making sure that it doesn't get into the wrong hands where it can be used against us is an important aspect to all of this as well. And I've had some heated some spirited conversations with others in training courses about this particular scorecard and the level of detail that it has that could be adding additional risk to our organization as well. But having some level of marketing of what are we doing to address our cybersecurity gaps, and being able to communicate that internally with a level of simplicity and detail, as well as to our external customers, to our largest stakeholders, as well as our most important partners, is going to be an important aspect to delivering and executing on our risk management action plan. And the last piece that I'll cover here in the phased approach to executing our risk management action plan and making sure that we are all prepared and risk aware and risk have a risk aware culture going into the holiday season is the implementation and the reporting of that risk management action plan. And there's three really key aspects to that. Having a level of check-ins. This is very tactical, getting help where needed, having celebrations on what we've executed. We've bought these packages are ready, and these gifts have been purchased, and having then next steps and actions. What do we still need to do? What is our checklist of actions? What resources are involved in those actions? Do those resources need help to execute those? It's really a tactical status report and a status update that then can also be utilized from a quarterly review standpoint as we go about the year, as we prepare for the Christmas season. How do we go from a broader landscape? We have stakeholder questions. We provide the information from our dashboard in terms of how we are progressing on our action plan, where we may need help, where we may need additional budgeting, are all things that we're going to work towards in the quarterly meeting. And then it all culminates with our annual celebration. And in this case, we're talking about an annual cybersecurity summit. Maybe we have it on Christmas, maybe we have it on New Year's, but it's a heightening of awareness. It's a energizing from the current year into the new year, where we celebrate success and also align with the culture change as we become a risk-aware organization and a repeatable organization, and move through those various tiers to repeat and adapt and continue on with our next 5 risks that we're going to handle into the coming season. So, call to action. What are we going to do going forward to protect ourselves from the risks of the Christmas season, as well as the risks overall to our organization? Understand and determine those top cyber risks. And it's not something that you do on your own as a cybersecurity or a risk practitioner or a risk professional. You are going to bring everyone within your stakeholders and your business processes to get them involved in what needs to be done. You're going to create a risk management action plan, and you're going to identify those top 5 risks and make it something executable that you can do within a 12-month time frame, and then implement and report and continue to celebrate the successes throughout the year as you move yourself to your culminating event. That may be Christmas, maybe New Year's, maybe your cybersecurity summit. But what you're ultimately trying to do is change the culture within your organization, within your family, to be more risk aware. And that could be small steps moving into bigger steps as you continue to build that culture, build your organizational risk awareness profile, and go further into the future to build a risk-aware organization. That brings me to the end of this quick presentation and this quick video for the Festive Tech Calendar. Again, go to festivetechcalendar.com for all of the presentations, all of the events that are happening, various videos, blog post articles that are involved in the Festive Tech Calendar every year. You can find that schedule at festivetechcalendar.com, and it will give you links to all of the upcoming as well as the past sessions where you can access those and continue an aspect of learning. The Just Giving page, if you feel in the giving spirit and want to donate to a great cause, this year's cause is for Beat Sun Cancer Charity. So definitely a very important organization that provides support services to enhance cancer treatments. And for anybody that has been touched or impacted by cancer, this you can't minimize how important these services, these support services, and these types of organizations are to help facilitate the treatment and the recovery of anyone affected by cancer, as well as the family members, because it takes a toll on everybody. I can attest to that firsthand. Feel free to follow me on go to my website, follow my website, follow me on LinkedIn, as well as there's my Blue Sky handle, as I promised. Very similar to my X or Twitter that I have been using for years. But those are great ways to get a hold of me. Ask me any questions. Happy to provide them, but also very happy to be a part of Festive Tech Calendar again this year. So thanks again to all the organizers. Thanks to you for tuning in. And have a great rest of your day. And as I say, as Captain Hyperscaler, we say within our organization, always be learning and skill up like a superhero. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day.